如果跟一个很贫困的人民来谈什么直接选举，恐怕他们更关心的人权的其他的方面，比如说受教育的权利、生存和发展的权利、享受文化娱乐卫生的权利。我想人权应该包括这么多的方面。我承认我们的人权的工作是有缺点的，所以我们很愿意听取你们的意见，我们愿意有一个渠道来对话，我们不要对抗。每当你们访问美国的时候，都有人给我一个名单，让我要释放这些所谓的不同政见者。我们对你们的意见，我们都是认真的对待，仔细的查考。如果这个人没有刑事犯罪的话，我们就把他释放了。这一次我来美国以前，我有很多美国的朋友又寄给了我很多材料，指出美国的人权存在着很多的问题，要我把这个信件递交给克林顿总统。我没有带来，我不想交给他，因为你们能够自己解决问题嘛。首先，我坚决地反对美国提出反中国人权的提案。
Firstly, I wish to say I'm firmly opposed to the U.S. tabling of a draft resolution directed at China at the Human Rights Commission session.
不但认为这是不公正的，而且是对中国的内政的干涉。
I not only regard that as unfair, but also take it as an interference in China's internal affairs.
我想说明3点。第一点，中国的人权在中国解放的这几十年已经取得了史无前例的进步。我们认为中国人民享受了前所未有的很大的民主和政治的权利。
I wish to make 3 points here. Firstly, China has made very big progress in the human rights area over the past several decades since the founding of New China. And the Chinese people today enjoy unprecedentedly extensive democratic and political rights.
人民群众完全可以通过中国的法治来批评、来监督他们的政府，他们可以畅所欲言。我觉得我们现在的新闻和言论的自由，比起过去，那已经有了相当大的、足够的进步了。
Through certain legal procedures, the Chinese people can voice their criticisms of the government, and they can also exercise supervision over the government, and they can express fully what their opinions. And in my view, in terms of the freedom of speech and the freedom of press, China indeed has made very great progress.
第二，我认为关于人权的观念也应该历史的来看待，同时每个国家也有不同的理解。
Secondly, I also think that we should put the question of human rights in a historical perspective, and I think different countries may have a different understanding of this question.
我想，关于人权的概念，中国的孟子所讲的“民为贵，社稷次之，君为轻”，那他讲人权比法国的卢梭和美国的人权宣言要早得多了。
In terms of the human rights concept, the Mencius, who lived in the period more than 2,000 years ago in China, he stated that people are the most important and the most precious, while the state is next to that, and the emperor or the kings are the least important. So that kind of thoughts were much earlier than Rousseau of France and then the Human Rights Declaration of France.
我想，不但人权的概念有历史的发展，而且每个国家也有不同的情况。像我们跟美国，人均的国民收入差了20倍。中国人民的大学的 大学生的比例大概从美国人民的大学生的比例比我们中国的文盲的比例还要大，文盲加这个小学生的比例还要大。这样不同的文化程度、不同的国民收入，我想他们对人权的概念也是不一样的。如果跟一个很贫困的人民来谈什么直接选举，恐怕他们更关心的人权的其他的方面，比如说受教育的权利、生存和发展的权利、享受文化娱乐卫生的权利。我想人权应该包括这么多的方面。
And also, different countries have different conditions, and the human rights actually is also a concept that has evolved in history. In terms of the per capita income of the United States is 20 times that of China. And also in terms of the education, the ratio of university graduates in the United States in its total population is higher than the ratio of the illiterate people plus the primary school graduates to the total population in China. So given such different levels of education and also the income, it's natural that people may have different concepts of human rights. For instance, if you want to talk about human rights to a very poor person, maybe what he is more interested in is if you want to just talk to him about direct election, but maybe that's not what he is most interested in. What he is interested in most is the other aspects of the human rights, such as the right to education, the right to subsistence, the right to development, the right to a cultural life, and the right to the medical care, health care. So I think the human rights actually include so many aspects.
因此，美国国家都有他自己的办法来改善人权，着急是不行的。说老实话，我比你们还着急得多啊！怎么改善中国的人权的状况？
So I think every country has its own approach in improving its human rights. One should not be too impatient. But to tell the truth, I'm more impatient than you are in how to further constantly improve the human rights in China.
第三，我承认我们的人权的工作是有缺点的。
Thirdly, I concede that there is room for improvement in human rights conditions in China.
因为你们要考虑到中国有几千年的封建的枷锁，人民的观念是很难改变的。我们的法治队伍的教育程度和他们的判案的能力也是有限制的。在这种情况底下，要把人权工作做得十分的完美，那是不现实的。
As you may know, China has a history of several thousand years of a feudal system, feudal society. So people have very deep-rooted concepts influenced by this historical background. It's quite difficult to change such a mentality or concept overnight. And also in China, in the legal workers, the people working in the legal and the judicial field, some of them are not that qualified, are not that competent. So sometimes in dealing with certain cases, they need to improve their work. So under such conditions, it's really not realistic to demand a very perfect practice in the human rights field.
所以我们很愿意听取你们的意见，我们愿意有一个渠道来对话，我们不要对抗。
So we are willing to listen to you, and we are willing to have channels of dialogue on human rights question. We don't want to stage a confrontation in this regard.
每当你们访问美国的时候，都有人给我一个名单，让我要释放这些所谓的叫什么？不同政见者。
Actually, in China, when I received some foreign visitors, they tend to put forward a list of so-called dissidents and asked me to release these people.
我们对你们的意见，我们都是认真的对待，仔细的查考。如果这个人没有刑事犯罪的话，我们就把他释放。
Well, actually, we took this matter very seriously, and we have looked into all these cases. And if we found that the person on the list has not committed any criminal offenses, then we will just release him.
这一次我来美国以前，我有很多美国的朋友，有寄给了我很多材料，指出美国的人权存在着很多的问题，让我把这个信件递交给克林顿总统，我没有带来。
Well, before I came to the United States, I received many of my friends mailed me a lot of materials in which they contain a lot of information about the problems of human rights in the United States, and they urged me to bring such materials to President Clinton, but I haven't brought them with me.
我不想交给他，因为你们能够自己解决问题嘛。
I don't want to hand that over to President Clinton because I trust you are able to resolve your own problems.